And welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we are so glad to have you here. Lawmakers in Trenton are moving forward with new legislation that would officially adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism into law. The goal is to give those in law enforcement and education a set standard when it comes to identifying and responding to anti-Semitic acts. We're going to be discussing that with Dan Rozett of the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey. First, though, the candidates for New Jersey governor have announced their running mates. On the Republican side, Jack Ciattarelli has selected Morris County Sheriff James Gannon as his lieutenant governor candidate, while Democrat nominee Micah Sherrill has chosen Dale Caldwell to join her ticket. To break down what their choices mean for the race and the future of New Jersey politics, we're joined by Micah Rasmussen, director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Micah, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Laura.
All right. Well, let's start with the big picture here. The selection of a running mate, it is a big deal, critical in any campaign. Here in New Jersey, what does this really mean? This is only going to be the third time we've had a lieutenant governor, because up until, the mid-2000s, we didn't have a lieutenant governor here in New Jersey. So can you talk a little bit about the big picture?
Yeah, Kim Guadagna was our first, and that was 2009 was her election with Chris Christie. I'm glad you wanted to start at the start, because we all can think about this as close to a vice presidential pick as New Jersey gets.
Right.
And when it comes to presidents choosing vice presidential running mates, you try to figure out whether you're going to go for geographic balance, partisan balance, gender balance, racial balance, right? You try to figure out all the different ways that you can complement your running mate. Well, there's another one that we should probably add to the mix, which is, first of all, what do you bring to the ticket, right? And I think that for Ciattarelli, the choice of Gannon was very clearly, Sheriff Gannon is very clearly designed to reflect that Morris County is a very important part of Jack winning this election. He knows that this is a county that can swing either way. It has gone either way in recent years. Suburbs are changing, more affluent suburbs are changing, and so Morris County has gotten swingier. But it's absolutely essential if Republicans are going to win. So I think this was an attempt to shore up Morris County, pick a popular official who could do well there. And so that was one sort of style and method to how you try to balance out a ticket. One that I don't think we appreciate enough is you're going to be working very closely with this person for the next 4 years. And so how do you get along with them? And who is going to be your co-pilot when it comes to running state government? And I think that's the process that Micah Sherrill has signaled that she did. Of course, there is ethnic balance, right? Dale Caldwell is an African-American candidate. He is somebody who's a college president. He's been very involved in professional sports in the state. And so I think there's a lot of people who know him. He's not a traditional political pick. The people who know him, and I hear this fairly frequently being in higher education, do you know Dale Caldwell? Well, yes, I do. How do you know him? Right? And it's because he comes from these different circles. He's a minister, pastor, and so there's just an awful lot of people who know him, and she's hoping to bring that to the ticket as well.
Well, and if you're a Trenton insider, you know these names for certain, but those outside the political circle don't, which kind of goes to my next question. People don't vote for the lieutenant governor. They're voting for governor, just similar as they vote for president. But here in New Jersey, what I'm hearing from you is there's a distinction. This actually has a little bit more weight to it. It really does matter who you're picking because of how each county and the significance of how each county votes. Because once you win certain counties, you kind of realize that's an easy way to kind of call election night. It's like, oh, well, once you have this, that, and the other, there's not another way of winning.
Well, I think you're right when you say that most voters are not voting based on who the vice presidential nominee is or who the lieutenant governor nominee is. They are voting on the basis of whether or not they want Micah Sherrill to be their governor or Jack Ciattarelli to be their governor. And I do believe that you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. This is a value added. This is, okay, well, this is maybe the first among equals in the cabinet. This is the person who is the governor's right hand. And so it's somebody who we want you to like them too, right? And here's somebody who you can get along with as well. But I think it does have the potential to matter if Jack's strategy is right. It does have the ability to help Gannon's familiarity in Morris County could help him to shore up Morris County. That is potentially the case. Another reason, if you talk to the Sherrill campaign, they think that Chitterelli is worried about Morris County because Mikey Sherrill has represented parts of it in Congress, does very well there, does better there than Democrats typically do. And so they are, she's portraying this as sort of running scared. They're putting up somebody from a Republican area that they should be able to take for granted, but they can't in this case.
Do you think that these picks have anything also? How much does it have to do with what the message of the campaign is going to be? When it comes to Sheriff Gannon, law enforcement. So will this be a law and order campaign, as we heard that in Jack Chitterelli's announcement? Dale Caldwell has got the more education background. When really everybody talks about the number one issue in New Jersey is affordability. They can't afford to live in New Jersey. So how do those help draft the message of the campaign?
That's a great question. And you might remember back to the May debates when Jack Chitterelli said that law enforcement was so important to him and so important to this race for him that he wanted to pick an attorney general who had a law enforcement background, who was in law enforcement. And so it was very clear, he was saying right then and there that law and order were going to be front and center for him. So I think this is perfectly consistent with that place in his head where he puts that issue and importance for his campaign. You're right, Dale Caldwell's experience is a little broader. It's not just in higher education, it's also in K through 12 education. He's got a couple of interesting trivia questions about him. He's actually been on 3 school boards in New Jersey. He's been the president of 3 school boards in New Jersey, longtime member of the New Brunswick School Board. And so he brings a real depth of experience in education as well. He's written about it, a number of books. And so I think that signals the importance of that issue, which we all know is the reason why people live here and the value proposition of why you pay the high taxes here is because you want those good schools for your kids.
You mentioned something about Jack Chitterelli during the debate, so I'm going to take that opportunity to break a little news because we just got some really good news that we've been awarded one of the gubernatorial debates coming up September 21st. So go ahead. You were part of that meeting with the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission.
Yes, and congratulations, Laura. You are going to be the moderator of the town hall at Ryder in our alumni gym. This is going to be a debate night, the likes of which New Jersey has never seen before. This is like a basketball arena. So we've got one side are going to be Democrats, one side are going to be Republicans, and in the middle are going to be Ryder students, alumni, staff, teachers, members of the public, people who are going to be very interactive in this town hall, get to ask these questions. We're going to curate the questions that they get to ask, that they're their questions. But it's going to be really a very fun, interesting debate that, again, it's designed for voters to get the maximum amount of information. It'll be a 90-minute debate, and we have that long format down pat, and it's really designed for the way that viewers get their information today. We're enormously grateful to the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. There were 9 incredible proposals before them. Organizations like CNN, MSNBC, and others, they could have gone in any number of different directions. But what we told them was the way voters are consuming information is changing. And it is appropriate that one of these debates be a streaming-based debate because that's the way 45% of television viewers are getting their television today is through streaming. It's the biggest outlet. It is bigger than cable and broadcast put together at this point.
I mean, it's an exciting time, and also along with the New Jersey Globe, we're partnering with the New Jersey Globe on this, and David Wildstein. This race is particularly not just highly competitive, but it's going to be highly watched because there are only 2 gubernatorial races in the entire country, New Jersey and Virginia. So can we talk a little bit about that? All the eyes that are going to be on this, and there isn't really. You've got the New York market, you got the Philadelphia market. So the challenges of candidates getting their message out there, and there is the national spotlight coming in.
Yes, absolutely. So I call us the first midterm state, and that's not really 100% accurate because next year is Trump's midterm, right? Obviously, and that's when we will elect the new Congress for the final 2 years of his term. But we are the canary in the coal mine. We're the first ones, along with Virginia, who are a reflection to how the country is viewing the White House. And let's face it, under Donald Trump, there is not a lot of opportunity to pay attention to anything other than Donald Trump. He kind of likes it that way, the oxygen in the room. And so our elections are necessarily a reflection of the mood of the country. And it's not just state issues, right? In fact, you've got one candidate who is very proficient and very detailed on state issues and a lot of proposals, a lot of thought. Jack Ciattarelli has crisscrossed the state for the last 10 years on state issues. And you've got Mikey Sherrill who's saying on the other side of the coin, wait a minute, national issues are important to New Jersey too. And, the Trump big, beautiful bill and the Medicaid cuts. And, there are so many ways in which decisions coming out of DC are affecting New Jersey as well. And so you've got these two different takes, but certainly the rest of the nation is going to be looking at New Jersey and seeing what it means for their elections next year.
I think it'll also be interesting to see how the candidates conduct themselves, because this is going to be Jack Ciattarelli's third time running for office. Jim Gannon has run for office, but Dale Caldwell, I don't know that he's run for office before. Mikey Sherrill has run a congressional campaign, which is very different than a statewide campaign. So can you talk a little bit about those dynamics?
It is very different. Being governor is an executive office, and it is a different executive office than any of them have held. None of the four have been a mayor. In fact, the only person who's really run a department in government is Sheriff Gannon, right? I mean, Jack Ciattarelli came out of the the state legislature, the state assembly, and as you say, Mikey Sherrill has come out of the House. And so Dale Caldwell certainly has run Centenary University. Jack Ciattarelli has run his businesses. But in terms of executive leadership, it is a very different thing than being a legislator. And you are the person in charge and you get to set the direction. So we're looking to you to tell us what are the things that you want to do to run this state and to take this state in a different direction for the next few years. One of the big questions, Laura, that we know is on voters' minds is we've had 8 years now of Governor Murphy and Democratic control. And typically that's a time when voters reassess and say, all right, maybe it's time for the other side. Well, Mikey Sherrill is saying, no, I can represent a change as well. And we're going to see how well that plays out for her.
Yeah, well, the race is off and going. Never a dull moment in New Jersey politics. And I'm glad we were able to share this moment together when we got the good news about the debate. So, Micah, thank you.
Happy day. Thank you, Laura.
Always good seeing you. Thanks for staying with us. The New Jersey Assembly has advanced legislation that adopts a formal definition of anti-Semitism to combat rising hate incidents in the state. Joining us is Dan Rozett, Director of Community Relations and Israel Engagement at the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, to discuss this legislation. Dan, welcome. It's so nice to see you.
Hello, nice to see you as well, and thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Dan, can you first start by talking a little bit about why this bill is so important to the Jewish community in New Jersey, especially given the alarming rise in anti-Semitic incidents across the state?
Right, so you said it. So anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in the country and in New Jersey. So New Jersey has the third highest amount of anti-Semitic incidents in the entire country in 2024. And nationally, we have never seen this amount of anti-Semitic incidents. It's the third or fourth year in a row that we have so-called broken a record as far as the amount of anti-Semitic incidents. And because of that, every school district, every police department or government agency without this definition is left to decide on their own what anti-Semitism means. Some define it narrowly, or they only understand it if it's the usual quote unquote usual Nazi slurs. But there are other ways that anti-Semitism manifests itself through conspiracy theories, Holocaust denial, coded language of some sort. And this is why IRA is important. It addresses all of that. It
Yeah.
addresses what is not so, obvious to be anti-Semitism, and
Yeah.
that's why we need this definition passed in New
Yeah.
Jersey.
So, the bill it adopts the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, their definition of anti-Semitic, which includes, like you said, Holocaust deniers. Yeah, right. As well as holding Jewish people collectively responsible for Israel, what is happening in the Middle East right now. So, can you talk a little bit about how this definition helps those in law enforcement, how it helps those in educators address anti-Semitism more effectively?
So it's really all about consistency. We want to have one definition across the board that lawmakers, legislators, police departments, etc., can use. And that actually falls in line with 37 other states in the country and 40 countries in the world. And the way it helps law enforcement is that we hear from police officers all the time. We don't know how to always identify anti-Semitism. Synagogues are vandalized, and sometimes law enforcement are not sure if it's I hate to use the word just, but just vandalism, some random act of, let's say, some teenager who thought it would be funny to throw a rock through a synagogue window, or if the origin of that act is anti Semitism. So, what it does for law enforcement, this bill or the IRA definition is used as a reference. And that is important moving forward when an arrest is made and there's a process of prosecution, etc. It's important to make that connection between anti-Semitism and the act that came after somebody said, something that we consider anti-Semitism, and then went and firebombed the synagogue, for example. So, you mentioned holding Jews collectively responsible for, the actions of the policies of a foreign government, in this case, Israel. If someone says that, just because I, Dan Rozett, believe that a state of Israel should exist, and then goes and firebombs my synagogue because I'm there, that is a connection that must be made. It has to be made for the purpose of understanding anti-Semitism, educating others, and we want that to be considered not just a crime, but a bias crime. And that's important. And IRA helps law enforcement get to that point where they can identify a certain act as anti-Semitism. Doesn't mean you can't say what you want to say, because you can. We have free speech in this country, and this bill does not infringe on that.
Yeah.
But if you act out on something hateful that you said, that's where law enforcement and others need this bill to make that connection and act accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about just expressing your opinion, it seems like the rhetoric has really gotten so much more vicious in everyday conversation with people. Oh, I support this. I believe Israel should be a free state. It just, there's so much tension. And I feel like this wasn't as big of an issue a few years ago. Do you feel that it's, due to certain current events that are happening, or is this always been an issue and just getting more of a spotlight shown on it right now?
So we've been working on this bill for 5 years or so. So it's before the October 7th attacks. So this has been going on before. It's just changed in the sense of the type of anti-Semitism we're seeing. So over 56%, according to the Anti-Defamation League, 56% of all anti-Semitic incidents in 2024 are related in some way or another to blaming Jews in the United States for, the war overseas. And that can't be overlooked. And that is something that we need to address, again, using the IRA definition. This is a constitutional correct and just definition. This bill is constitutionally correct. I mean, it addresses the hate that we're seeing, but it also protects free speech. And that's really important for people to understand, because that's really one of the contention points that we're dealing with.
Well, I mean, and I want to talk a little bit about a lot, and we haven't in the past few weeks or so seen as many protests happening on college campuses and such. So, where is that line of free speech? Because what we do see on a lot of college campuses goes way beyond free speech. It's bullying, it's harassment, it is intimidation, it is a disruption that is affecting students, the community, the entire, more than just the protest. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you draw that line between the ability to express an opinion and that First Amendment right, and what we see happening, which is harassment, bullying, intimidation?
So I think each campus has to decide for itself what the red line is as far as how people protest. And again, people can say whatever they want, no matter how vile. Again, the part that we need to pay attention to is how people act after they say what they say. It's quiet now on campus because school is out. I'm sure when we get back to school in September, we'll see more. But I really need to stress that part that this isn't about free speech. It's about our lawmakers doing the correct and just thing by passing this bill in the legislature in the next couple months, because they have the responsibility to protect all New Jerseyans from hate. And this is one of the ways to do it. It's not just about Jews. We know from history that what starts with anti-Semitism doesn't end with anti-Semitism. It eventually gets to all marginalized groups. So anti-Semitism is some kind, considered an early warning system. And that's why IRA is important. IRA, I mean, the IHRA definition is important for all of us in New Jersey, not just the Jewish community. And, you ask where the line is. Again, you can say it, but if you say things like Israel shouldn't exist, or the Jewish people, again, I'm repeating myself, the Jewish people are collectively responsible, and then you say to me, I don't want you in my club because you're a Zionist, because you simply believe in the right of the state of Israel to exist. That's a connection, again, that needs to be made. My daughter, just because she's Jewish and, again, is a Zionist, she doesn't deserve to get spit on, and that's what happened to her, on campus. I mean, these are just things that, that's an assault. But what I'm saying is, again, say what you want. That's your opinion. You have that right. This is a free country, and the First Amendment is holy. We don't want to ever infringe on that.
Yeah.
But if you act on your words and it's considered a crime or a bias incident, we need to make that connection to the anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
that's very important.
This statistic is staggering to me. New Jersey ranked third in the nation for anti-Semitic incidents in 2023, and the anti-Jewish bias is the second highest type of reported bias in 2024. That's just incredible, in a very bad way. Can you just share about how you hope this legislation will make a tangible difference in communities like those you serve at the Jewish Federation?
So for me, it's all about education. Education is key, and it's how we improve our future. And when when this bill passes with the IRA definition as part of it, my plan is, or my goal is to introduce it officially to school districts, so that our kids who are studying about hate and racism regarding other marginalized groups can better understand what anti-Semitism is, can better understand the different manifestations of anti-Semitism, that it's not just about a swastika, it's about other things that, while school administrators might consider political rhetoric, is actually not. And I keep repeating that, and I keep going back to the same thing about holding Jews responsible for the policy of the government of Israel. Or conspiracy theories about Jews controlling the media, or all of what we know as adults. I hope we know as adults. Our kids don't know that, and this is a tool for teachers to use, because they themselves are not always knowledgeable on this subject matter, and that in a sense is sometimes intimidates them, and they don't act accordingly when a student comes to them and says, somebody said to me I shouldn't exist because my parents are Israeli, or somebody said to me I'm a baby killer because of what's happening in Israel, and that's in itself a debatable subject. That's not what I'm here to talk about, but of course it's related. So teachers don't know how to address that. And sorry, I'll just one more thing. Even things that are obvious to us as adults, Jews have all this money and they keep it to themselves. Believe it or not, some teachers don't realize that that's anti-Semitic. They consider it some kind of a political statement or just quote unquote just bullying. It's not enough. We need to educate, and this bill is key to education.
Well, and then the bill includes a $100,000 appropriation for a public awareness campaign to promote bias crime reporting. So can you talk a little bit about that to help combat anti-Semitism? Because, some people might say, that's just a stereotype. I didn't mean anything by it. But no, it's not.
Right, correct. So that goes back to education, but reporting is also very key. I'm not the expert on how law enforcement handles reporting, but anything that can improve on that is critical. And by the way, the $100,000, if it gets passed, reporting anti-Semitism, I don't think it's going to be just limited to that. It's reporting bias incidents, and if any funds can improve on that, we're all going to benefit from that. And it goes back to why this bill is just and correct, and it's constitutional. It protects all of our rights. It's just something that can help educate anybody that's in a leadership position.
Dan Rozett, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And that'll do it for today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.